Was on the live stream today and I got a really thoughtful question about portion control. And so I just wanted to share this clip with you. As we're heading into the holidays, we're trying to have the best relationship with food, have positive connection with friends and family. Food is so central to that. So, how do we navigate this in a way that is healthy, positive, maximizes the good experiences, minimizes any negative experience, helps us create the best memories this holiday season? I hope you find this helpful. So, yes, portion control as a concept you really like, but not just as a restrictive thing to say, like, oh, I can only ever eat this much and to cut things off before I'm satisfied, but to bring mindfulness into it. Mindfulness on the front end to say, hey, this is going to be a pretty acceptable amount of food to eat, kind of priming the system ahead of time, know what it is going to expect, and then finding the line in the eating. Like a lot of times in a holiday, and I won't even say, like I say, I try to say no judgment on any sort of eating in any one day. We can deal with any sort of thing that happens in one day. Honestly, we bring so much intensity and judgment, say, oh, I overate on one day. Okay, listen, anything that happens on one day, we can balance that out with all these health tools that we have. No need to beat yourself up about it. But the way we often approach a holiday is like people will eat until they're like, I'm totally stuffed, right? Like, I cannot eat anymore. Like, well, that isn't necessarily people, you make your own assessment of it, isn't necessarily the most thoughtful way to approach it. That in and of itself, just if we're going to really objectively break it down, that wouldn't maybe be the thing that would take us toward our path the best. If it's the thing that you need to do to fully enjoy it, like I said, it can be totally fine and you can balance it out. But the more mindful thing and the way that I would approach portion control in that sort of mindset, which Queen of Heaven is finding a lot of value from. Yeah, saying, oh, eating until my stomach hurts. See, that's not pleasant. Then that's not bringing enjoyment. So you definitely want to prevent that. You say, we want to have the most enjoyable food experience possible. You don't want to end it like this, where it's like, oh, now I'm feeling bad about myself, like just physically, like that was too much. Mindfulness is the way to do that by asking the question ahead of time. If I didn't take another bite, would I be satisfied? Like, would that be enough? And then just to kind of keep asking that as you're going through the meal. There's a discrepancy or there's a difference between coming to a realization like, oh my gosh, I literally cannot eat anymore, or I'm going to like feel badly. Like that's like a real red line. There's like a yellow line before that, where you have eaten enough, where you would answer that question, if I didn't take another bite, would that be good enough? And that is usually a place of contentment. And then there's that gap. And that gap is what you really want to find, because then you get every good thing that you want to eat, and you eat it in a satisfying amount, in a right proportion, where you can just enjoy it without bringing anything negative into it. I finished reading this book the other day that we went through. A bunch of stories and things in here that I didn't, talk about on the channel. One of which is dialing in here about how our memory works. When we think about holidays, food is one of the best ways that we connect with friends and family, and we want to create good memories, right? So we don't want bad memories. There's a really fascinating section in here where they're talking about how memories are formed and how memory works. They're talking about the two selves that exist in our mind. The experiencing self, the self that is actually present in the moment that has the experience, and then the remembering self. And the remembering self is how we reconstruct everything that happens. And we don't really have, at least according to this framework, like a complete recording of everything that happens. The way our memory consolidates, we tend to remember the peak experience, either good or bad. Like if it was a joyful experience, remember the most joyful part of it. Like we remember kind of that frame. And then we remember the end of something, and everything else gets kind of collapsed in. And that's called duration neglect. Like no matter how long something is, it kind of just gets collapsed in general into a memory where we remember the most intense part, good or bad, and then how it ended. And so this is something really interesting to bring into that space. How good, was the meal? Like was it intensely good? Such rich flavors, such good food experience. But then how did it end? And that's where I'm going with this. If we're eating until we're experiencing like physical pain and something, that's not going to create as good of memory. If the food was really good, but then it ended in discomfort, you say, well, that is going to consolidate that memory into kind of like, oh, it was not quite as good. Portion control, mindfulness in that space, helpful tools to help us enjoy, create that peak experience. Say, oh, it was perfect, friends and family and good food and delicious. And then I enjoyed it. And then have that tail, that ending, also be thoughtful. That'll help you consolidate it into just, the best memory, which would be the ideal outcome for sure.